Welcome back to Mona's Take. I am your host, Monadrose, and we are here to talk about everything reality TV. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything I have coming up. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of true crime, man. I'm going to start following one trial.
People are acting on a whole nother level on that. Can't wait to see that karma train coming through. Choo-choo. Mood of the day. Really? You gotta give us more credit than that. Some people, buckle up, buttercup. When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Giving updates and things, in my opinion, on that. As long as it's one that I'm interested in, because if it's something I'm not interested in, I can't do it. So this one is on the Murdaugh murders. We're going to be discussing the closing arguments, the jury, the judge's instructions, a replacement of another juror. I will say again, if you have not watched the Netflix documentary on this, it doesn't so much cover the murders, but it covers the boating accident and the kids that were involved, their parents, things of that nature. So I would go watch that. So the prosecution's closing arguments was about 3 hours, and it's what we can expect. They went over everything, a little bit condensed version, but basically touched on everything again. They pounded in the fact that if Paul had not taken that Snapchat, that Alec would still be lying about being at the kennels that night. That he created an alibi by going to his parents' house, driving 86 miles an hour over there to make it seem like he was there longer than what he actually was. Couple of problems with that. If that's the case, if he was trying to add more time to what he says he was at his parents' house, then wouldn't have he driven really slow on the way back? He didn't. He drove the same amount going over there as he did coming back. He just happens to be a person with a lead foot, in my opinion. I'm that way. I have to set my cruise control or I'm going to be going 90 or nothing. So I don't necessarily think that's a valid argument to make. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's what they're doing. They're pounding in the fact that he had means, opportunity, and motive to commit the crimes. Just basically the same old, same old. Talks about him lying, talks about the financials. The one thing that I will say that kind of got me was the very end of the closing arguments with the prosecution. He said, Alec has fooled a lot of people. He fooled his family. He fooled his law partners. He fooled his clients. Don't let him fool you too. You need to be, or he fooled Maggie and Paul, and look where it got them. Don't let him fool you. Be a voice for Paul and Maggie. That to me, that was kind of powerful. The rest of it, I've heard it over and over and over so many times that it's like I can't listen to any more of it. But that did kind of get me, isn't it? In the closing argument, that was the last words to the jurors. Well, then the defense took over. Not a lot in the defense that was like an awe moment. Went over the same things. The fact that they rushed to judgment. They handled the case, SLED handled the case poorly. Same thing with them, reiterating everything that they've already went over. More down about that. Okay. So it wasn't anything that really, in the defense's case, didn't sway me. Closing arguments didn't sway me one way or the other. You guys may hear my grandkids here. I have them today for after school. Um, so again, nothing that was like, oh, I haven't already heard. The judge gave his final instructions to the jury. Uh, Typical things: don't discuss the case with anybody, and if you're on your cell phones, tablets at night or whatever, you can't discuss the case, can't look at anything on the case. You can only go by the evidence that's presented in the case that I have approved. Um, just because someone's an expert does not mean you have to necessarily believe them or not believe them. You can believe all or part of anyone's testimony. Typical trial, end of trial motion or uh, instructions. Then they sent the jury out. Now, Paul, come on through and go to the room or whatever. Sorry, guys. So the jurors are released to go back in. They can't start deliberating until they get the 4 charges, all of the evidence, and the instructions, judge's instructions that he had given. Once they get all that, they can start deliberating, which they have at this time. So right now they are in deliberation. We will see how it goes. We had another juror member that was dismissed this morning. And the reason being, evidently, she had inadvertently given her opinion to someone about a piece of evidence. That's all that was stated. It doesn't say what kind of evidence it was, but that she had talked about the case outside of the courthouse. They brought the 2 people in that supposedly she talked to. They interviewed them. Come to the conclusion that yes, she did talk about the case, how inadvertently it was happened, but she did make a statement about one piece of the evidence. It doesn't say what piece of evidence that was. Some of the pundits are saying that the prosecution proved their case. The other half are saying they didn't. There are people out there that are saying SLED did a sloppy job in the investigation. That if they'd have done a better job, they would have found the real person that did this. Whenever they released the other juror this morning, I think that juror probably would have been a not guilty verdict. The reason I say that is because this particular juror, when the judge said she was going to be released, the defense, they didn't object because I guess they can't object to his finding on that. But he did put it on the record that the same people who investigated or interviewed these 2 people that supposedly the juror talked to were the same people who investigated the case, and we see how sloppy of a job they did on the case. So can we really trust them on this? And they're saying, we're not objecting your ruling because we know your ruling is your ruling. However, we want to put it into record that those people were the ones who interviewed the juror. So it sounded like to me that it was probably someone who was leaning towards the defense, because they did go put it on record that they didn't necessarily agree with it. I guess we'll probably never know unless that juror decides to talk outside of the court after the trial is over. What I found funny was the other day, and I didn't report on this, but the other day another criminal charge was added that Alex was charged with. And it was trying to leave the courthouse with a pen. He had stuck a pen in his pocket and was trying to leave the courthouse. Now, some people say he did it just out of habit. The case is, in for the day, whatever, pick up your stuff, do whatever. They charged him for that, for contraband. And today, I noticed whenever the judge was wrapping up and they were talking about everything, he did the same thing. And when he stuck it in his pocket, he like kept pushing it down, like as far as he could get it into his shirt. And then put his jacket over it. So I don't know if it's intentional or what, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he catches another charge on that. I don't know if that's a misdemeanor or what. I don't know what contraband is, but what he would get for it. But I'm almost positive, because Court TV had it right on him when he did it. So I'm almost positive that somebody's going to let the judge know that he hijacked or tried to hijack another pen. Why, I don't know. The alternate juror. I guess the way that works is if there are any alternate jurors at the end of the trial, once the jury goes in for deliberation, those jurors are released to go home. They're done. Their duty is done. They only got one left, because they've used 5 out of 6. And normally they only have like 3 alternates, but this judge made them do 6. And they only have one left out of the 6 that they haven't had to use. So the defense brought to the judge's attention, they were supposed to release her. So judge is in the process of trying to release her. The defense objects. And the defense and the prosecution both say they would like to keep her around in case something happens to another jury. Because I guess you're supposed to have 12 jurors, and if one of them has to leave for whatever reason during deliberation, I would think that would be a hung jury. So they just said, we'd like to keep her around until the jury's through deliberating, just in case one of them gets sick, then we have another alternate, and it's not a hung jury. Now, there are pundits out there that are speculating that Alex's lawyers are trying to do everything they possibly can for the appellate courts. So, and that may be the case. I don't know. But, so they ended up keeping him. And I thought, it's been 6 weeks. This trial was supposed to take 3 weeks. And it's been 6. And I don't know, I heard somewhere one time that they said that when you have a jury that they should deliberate, I think they said an hour per day of the trial. So if the trial was, it's been 6 weeks, 6 times 7 is 42, so it's been 42 days. So at least 42 hours they should deliberate. An hour for each day of court. I don't know how true that is, but now remember, this jury was not allowed to take notes. I've never heard of a jury not being able to take notes, but they weren't. So anything that they want to refresh their memory on, they're going to have to go through every bit of the evidence. I would say probably if I was the foreman, I would go in, I would take a vote, guilty or innocent, and see where we are. If you have more leaning towards guilt, then I would go that way. If you have more leaning towards not guilty, then I would try to bring up the evidence from that way. Whatever. Let each side do their arguments. So I don't know how they'll do it. But I do know that it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a day or two. I think it's going to be, I want to say a week. But they may be tired of being there. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I do have an alert. Hopefully it works, that when the jury's back in, that I'm notified. So we'll see how that goes. See if anything comes up over the next couple of days. If not, then I will probably try to figure out how I can go live when the verdict does come in and have that shown to you guys as they read the charges and the verdicts, and then have a discussion afterwards. That is the plan. If something comes up before then, I'll let you guys know. So that's all I have for you guys on this video. I will be doing another video here shortly of all of the stuff that's going on in reality TV right now. It's crazy what's happened the last, this is what, March 2nd. So the last 3 days, it has just blown up. And I was kind of waiting to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and get that out today. So there's also, since I've been away with the surgery and everything, there's something I noticed on the videos now. It's called Super Thanks. So I guess it's a way also that you guys can tip. I do have my Venmo and my Cash App in the description of all of the videos. I don't know how much YouTube takes of that kind of stuff. I think it can get pretty hefty. But anyway, if you are so inclined, the information is there. That's all I have for you guys right now. Have a great day. And as always, much love.